I wanted to apply for the job in Bibb County because I saw it as a challenge. I had several people who talked to me about issues that were going on within the county, people who I respected, and when I looked into it, it was just another opportunity to take all these things that I had in my head that I had not been able to do in Griffin. I thought I could do them here, and I wanted to see if they would work. And so it was just a win-win situation.
We were really looking for leadership that would restore integrity to the superintendent's office, also create confidence in the community. And whenever he said, this is what we need to do, he would tell us how he would accomplish it in a way that non-educators could understand, including me and including the community as a whole. And because of that, I think there was almost instant buy-in. I still am at times in shock that we were able to get him to come to Bibb County.
The main thing about him I saw immediately is that he was going to hold us accountable. That was just something that we weren't used to at that time. It was really exciting to see that he was going to come and just make sure that we would focus on the right work and that we were held accountable for that work.
So I've been with Dr. Jones for 26 years. I coached both of his sons in baseball. He was a ROTC commander at Griffin High School, and the first thing that I remember about him is him coming down to the baseball field in those short army shorts that he wore. And I was like, who in the world is this guy? As I got to know him, it just became about how driven he is and how true he is to his values.
Honestly, he can be a little intimidating, but until you meet him, you can't really anticipate the gravity of the experience. He has an aura about him that makes you want to succeed. He makes you feel like your part of the puzzle is an intricate part of the puzzle.
The greatest thing Dr. Jones does is listen. And I'll go back to the first time I met Dr. Jones. We had lunch together at a place downtown called Janine's. And I thought, wow, I'm going to have lunch with the superintendent of schools. I sit down at the table and I left, I'm saying, all he did was want to learn about me. He seeks to understand before being understood.
You may or may not know, but he was a very, very successful student. But I also believe that he recognized that he had peers in his classrooms who probably had the potential, but may not have experienced the same levels of success. And I think he probably wanted to ensure on his watch that he could provide the supports for each child to reach his or her potential. He has shown me, taught me, that you can remain who you are and still lead in the space that you're in. We call that authentic leadership.
I was out visiting a school, and I had this student come up to me, and he was in middle school. And he told me that when I first met him 3 years before, when he was in elementary school, and he said that he didn't really know what a superintendent was, because his question was, are we going to have a good school system? I said, if you stay in school, if you work hard, if your discipline is good, I'm going to make sure the school system's good for you. And he said to me, when I saw him when he was in middle school, he says, that's turned out to be true. And so that was, to me, where I think it came together. We were trying to improve instruction, get better teachers in the classroom, make schools a place where students want it to be. This student was saying it happened for him. And that, for me, was satisfying.
Although he's the superintendent, kids don't see that as an intimidation factor as maybe adults do. For me and my students, I've watched them ask him tough questions, but have the confidence enough to know, hey, he's the guy in charge. If I want to know why we're doing something, I need to ask him. I have one student in particular, I won't call his name, and he said, Dr. Pooler, I sent Dr. Jones a text message via, direct message on Twitter. Do you think he'll respond? And I said, absolutely. And when Dr. Jones responded, he said, can you believe this? He replied. And that kid told another kid who told another kid. And it was almost infectious. I think the fact that he always responds gives him a different level of credibility.
He's brought business leaders and folks like the United Way to work together to make it a better community. And he asked us what we need. He's been an amazing leader, and I'd say that Bibb County in general, beyond the school district, owes Dr. Jones a sense of gratitude because he's absolutely left us better than he found it.
So imagine this. You have the business community saying, I need to get the school system to be better, and the school system's not talking to them. It just creates conflict that we didn't need. So we had to work together. I always said at some point we would look over our shoulder and say, when did that happen? When did we get better? And it happened with me at one of those Macon 1.0 meetings. They had an outside consultant come and say, did you realize that the black students in Bibb have a higher graduation rate than the rest of the black students in the state of Georgia? And all the business people looked and said, no. They said, yeah, that's been true for 2 years. And I had people look at me and say, did you know that? I said, well, yeah, I did. We've been closing the gap with the state, but subgroups are doing better. That is a story to be told. And the business community, when they saw that, had less problems wanting to pass our East Block, so we were able to modernize our facilities. They had less problems with us saying, we need to close school when it was time for COVID, because they knew in some ways we were looking at all the data and trying to do the very best we could.
As much discord there was regarding the school system and how much lack of trust there was from the community, once they saw good, ethical, competent leadership, they were ready to support the school system again, because we all recognize that a good school system is an essential for a good community. The East Block is incredibly important because we can't use general funds to build buildings. It was the credibility that he built quickly with the community that helped that to pass.
So when I first got the job and found out I was going to be superintendent, I had newspaper and TV show up in my office, and they said, so what are you going to do? And my response was, I'm going to change the culture. We're going to have to change the culture in Bibb so we can be successful. Victory and progress for us are the words that represent the strategic plan that we put in place. It became the way that we identified ourselves. Some people call it branding. I would tell you it's just who we are. It showed the change in culture that we had, and it recognized that we're not where we want to be, but we're getting better, and that some progress is happening, and that we need people to be on the team.
Having someone to come in to say these are the research-based practices that are necessary in order for us to move the needle, and really and truly say we're doing it this way, was kind of hard for some of our principals at first. But then when they saw that, in addition to you doing this, we're going to provide you the support. We started seeing results immediately. And I think when you see results and you see that what you're doing actually has a positive impact, then people are willing to continue to follow along.
There was a diversity of adversity within our various schools. So the 21st century classroom was an entry point into ensuring that students and staff not only had what they needed, but also could collaborate in that space. We were striving to ensure that our students could compete in a 21st century global society. If you can't expose them to a 21st century learning environment, then you're really contradicting the vision that you have relative to the exposure that they're going to have to compete with when they leave the school system or the classroom.
We need leaders in every pocket. We need leaders on every street. So what better way to do that is to teach it. In elementary school, I don't know, has 600 kids. Let's just say you only get half to buy in the first year. It's still 300 leaders. So when you think about Leader in Me, a part of that is for that 300 to also touch the other 300 who didn't get it. So if you think about where they live, different pockets of Macon. So you have 600 little leaders. You're not reteaching, you're building capacity in students. And so with Leader in Me, you find your voice. You start with the end in mind. If you're growing a pre-K student at 4 years old and you're shaping that young mind to be a leader, and you continue to do that in each and every grade, just imagine what that 18-year-old young person will turn out to be. How productive are they going to be in the world?
Dr. Jones's focus on the graduation rate in many ways may not have been truly understood. I think the reason that you were able to see the significant jumps that Bibb County experienced in its graduation rate is because we were intentional about taking care of what we call the right things and the right people, so that when graduation season occurred, we got the right results. He is to be commended, but I think he would say to you, that was really about him recognizing what he needed to do in support of other people, and that led to the graduation rate that we're all proud of.
When I first came to Bibb, Steve Jones was showing me around Northeast High School, and he was pointing out, look at these walls. We got 3 different coats of paint on the wall. Look at this restroom. I mean, this is just a shame. And I'll be honest, I looked at it and said to myself, I'm not sure I want my child to go to school here either. When I came back, I told our facilities director, I said, go paint that school. And the statement I got back was, we're going to be building a new school in 3 years, so it doesn't make sense to paint it. I said, paint the school and put the new technology in that we're going to install, because these kids are only going to be in school one time in this particular grade, and we're going to do all we can to make it a good experience. And I'll be honest, it cost us some when we opened the new school, and we had to leave some equipment behind. But when we opened the new Northeast High School, I cried. I mean, I felt so good because we did that.
For a leader of a system, it is so little about him. He was named National Superintendent of the Year 2019. That's the whole nation. I was in Los Angeles when Dr. Jones received the award as National Superintendent of the Year. And it is pretty rare to see him show, I would call personal emotion. But when he announced he had won, he did a little fist bump. And for that moment, I could sort of see him going, you know, I did it. But then the moment he started talking about it, he gave credit to everybody else.
When he was named, he did this quick, yes. So out of character. So guess what I did? I said, well, since he's out of character, I'm going to be undignified. And I screamed and I yelled and I hollered. And I acted as if he was my child. But it was just a feeling of joy, of just ultimate joy. I was so excited because for so long we had been known for something that was not that great. And so now here it is. Macon, Georgia, little Bibb County School District was being recognized for all the work we had done. It was a great feeling. It's a great moment.
When we left LA and came back, he went from being one of thousands of people on a late night flight, walking through the airport trying to get to his luggage, to being the one person that was greeted by a crowd that he was most excited to celebrate with. He was humbled again, but the wickedness is he was humbled by the people that report to him. There's something to be said about a kid who grew up in a small town, who ultimately went off to West Point and then was named National Superintendent of the Year. What's most important for him is that he be his best self. And in order for him to be his best self, he has to see himself in others.
I think Dr. Jones saved this system and put us in a position where we've been successful, where we've received national recognition. My hope is that Dr. Jones has shown this community what good, quality, ethical leadership looks like and what it can accomplish when that kind of leadership inspires everyone to pull in the same direction. I don't think I've ever been more proud of a vote I've made because I see the impact it's had.
I think the district was in a place where it needed a Dr. Jones to come and get things turned around. I think Dr. Jones' legacy is going to be the public believing in public education again. His integrity is like no other man that I've met, and he really pushes you and forces you to get out of your comfort zone. Personally, lost my dad back in '97, so he's been like that father figure to me.
Dr. Jones has impacted me both professionally and personally. I know that I'm a better education leader. More importantly, though, I think I'm a better parent, and I think I'm a better person. On my toughest days, whether it be in Bibb or in my current role, knowing that I can call. He doesn't have to take the call anymore, but he does. My goal is to be the leader for others who follow me the way that he is for me.
Dr. Jones believed in me, even when I didn't believe necessarily in myself. I mean, he saw something within me that stretched me, challenged me, but also gave me the confidence to explore different things and to really and truly tap into my natural talent and my innate ability. Prior to him, I was always doing the work. But he poured into me like no other mentor has ever done that. He's impacted my life in a very positive way, and I'll never forget it.
I think he knows the impact that he's made. I don't think he can understand what he's meant to individual people just yet. But I think once he steps away and just reflects, he'll see more and more of the impact he's made. I lost a principal, I've lost students, and I don't think people realize that touches everybody, even a superintendent. Nobody wants to make the call or have to go to a funeral. And I remember him doing that with me. He developed personal relationships with everybody. If you gave him a chance, you'd really like him. And if you didn't give him a chance, you missed out on something great.
I would like for my legacy to be that I was an individual who came, who worked hard, who tried to develop future leaders and teachers, who saw that students could be and achieve more than what they were already achieving, and that we could help make that happen. I hope my legacy would be that I was seen as a fair person who didn't favor one side of town or one social class, but was there for the students who were most needy, but treated everybody with equity. My hope is the district will look at the work we've done, do a new assessment, and then say, here's now where we're going to go. And that the community will get behind them and be successful. Because that's what these children deserve. That's what they deserve.